Hi, my name's Wendy Forbes, and I am the social media director here at Fonda on the Plaza, and I have some very special guests I'd love to introduce you to today.
I am Bernette Jarvis. When I worked here, my maiden name was Nystrom, so it's Bernette Nystrom Jarvis.
And I'm her older sister by 2 hours, and I'm Beverly Nystrom, Ireland.
And you're more commonly known, probably, as the Harvey Girl twins.
I think that's right.
And when did you first come to Santa Fe? What year was it?
It was 1955, the fall of 1955.
And you moved here from?
From Minnesota.
And what made you want to come to Santa Fe from Minnesota?
Well, I think I'll share this with you. When we were sophomores in high school, we were invited with a favorite aunt and uncle, and they had an only child, and they were coming to New Mexico for a trip. The husband had worked as a road contractor here, and our cousin, who was a year younger than us, was actually born in Albuquerque, but they lived in Minnesota, and they were taking a road trip to New Mexico. So it was unheard of that mother would let us out of high school to come on this trip, but we did, and we went to a lot of different places in New Mexico, and we fell in love with the Southwest. So I think that had a little to do with it. But as my sister says, we came here to spend the winter, and it's been an awfully long winter.
And how did you hear about the Fred Harvey Company? I mean, you wanted to stay in Santa Fe, so you were looking for a job. How did that come to be?
Well, we knew if we stayed here, we had to work. So it was a matter of, should we take a winter job? And at that time, Mr. Williams was the hiring man here at La Fonda. It was a Fred Harvey hotel. The women did not live downstairs like they had done prior. We lived in our own apartment and came and dressed here. But he was hiring because it was a long legislature session. And even though we were just 18, we weren't old enough to serve liquor. So he said, I'll put you on, girls, for the legislature session. Well, it continued on and on and on, not the legislature session, but it was a fabulous job.
And for how long were you here at La Fonda?
Till we got married.
Wow. So that leads me to the next question that some people want to know, and that is, as a Harvey girl, were you allowed to date?
Oh, yeah, because we had our own living quarters. Of course we were. Okay. Yeah, we were allowed to date.
And were there other rules, though, associated with being a Harvey girl when it came to how you would comport yourself?
No, not really. We weren't allowed to come in the hotel after hours. We were never allowed to use the front door of the hotel. We always entered through the back door and went down a little step into the basement there where we changed our uniforms. That were the rooms that the girls who used to live here, we used their rooms to change our uniforms.
And tell me a little bit about the uniforms. Did you have special uniforms for special occasions? Were there different uniforms, or was it the same type of uniform?
We worked the breakfast, lunch, and I think mainly being is that we weren't old enough to serve liquor. So we dressed in the same uniform all the time. It was white, even white apron. And the only black was the black bow tie.
And then we had the headband.
And that didn't change over the years? That stayed
Always.
The same? Always the same.
And they did everybody said, did you keep your uniform? And of course not, they belonged to Fred Harvey. He did the laundry, and we had a fresh uniform every day. It was very starched. If we spilled any coffee on it, we were sent right back to the dressing rooms to get something clean on.
Do you each have a favorite experience from that time? Something memorable that you think about?
I think being so sheltered and living, coming here from the farm, the big tours that came through, from a lot of them are foreign countries that stayed here at the hotel, and they have their interpreter. And for us girls that really had such a sheltered beginning, that just was absolutely amazing. And of course, La Fonda hosted, or the movies that were made in that era, the movie stars stayed here. So that was always exciting to wait on a John
Cowboy.
Wayne.
John Wayne.
Yeah, and then Cowboy was one of the films that were Henry Fonda and Jack Lemmon, and we waited on them.
And how about you? Do you have a favorite experience?
Well, that's about, I can't add too much to it. It was, at first I think it was a little bit overwhelming to us, the culture change, and then the fact that we weren't used to such fancy service that we had to give our guests, you know. But we caught on quickly.
Any other celebrity sightings while you were here?
I don't remember, do you?
No, Glenn Ford was in on that cowboy movie, and no, I don't.
Well, John Wayne, that's pretty good. I think people would be excited just to meet John Wayne. Did you find that you had an advantage as being twins, or were there disadvantages to being twins?
Yes, I would say so. Wouldn't you?
Except we each had our stations in the dining room. And sometimes they weren't just next to one another, so there were a lot of guests and people that were here, came here, that weren't aware that we were twins. But it's been a fun experience, yes it has.
To them, it must have just seemed that you were in two different places at the same time.
Maybe.
I would think could be an advantage when you're in service. Were there any disadvantages that you found as working as twins?
I don't think so. We never were in competition with each other, and no, I don't think so. Do you?
Mm-mm.
You never did any of those twin things where you pretended to be the other for an advantage?
Not at Fonda, no. We had to abide by the rules, honey.
Did you ever consider being a Harvey girl elsewhere? Did you have the opportunity to leave La Fonda and go to another Harvey house?
No.
No. Okay. Do you have any secrets from the old days? Any La Fonda secrets?
Can you think of anything?
No secrets.
Well, maybe this one, now that I think about it. There was an elderly gentleman that was a guest here, and of course we were not to accept gifts from anyone. And after we got off work, he says, I want to take you two girls shopping. Do you remember that, Bernette?
Yes, I do.
It was a real floozy dress shop on Marcy Street. And he said, he took us in there and he said, I want to buy you girls whatever you want in here. But of course, that probably was something we couldn't repeat to anybody.
That was a secret.
Yes, that's right. That was, you do remember now. So anyhow, we both picked out white cashmere sweaters with sequins on the collar, down the front. The buttons had sequins. I had mine till just a few years ago, and of course, and I thought, oh, I can't give this away. But I did. I knew a dear friend. It was a little bitty lady, and for some reason, I don't know if I hadn't taken care of it right, but it didn't fit me right, even though I didn't feel that I have changed sizes that much, you know. But I gave it to this 90-some-year-old lady that lives in cashmere's. That's all she would wear. And she was so elated, and she does wear it.
Very nice. So you weren't allowed to accept tips or gifts or anything? So
Oh,
you,
we got tips at the table.
Oh,
you
yes.
did get tips at the table,
Oh, yes.
but no
Yes.
gifts.
That's
So,
correct.
so you broke the rules. That's your secret.
Well, that's right. But you're the first to know.
How fun. So, did you meet your husbands when you were Harvey Girls?
Well, I guess we were just like any teenage, 18, 19-year-old. Once we left our shift in the middle of the afternoon, we came for breakfast early in the morning, folded napkins, and set up our stations, worked breakfast, and then sometimes we'd have a break to go home, sometimes not. Then we worked lunch. So after lunch, 2:33, maybe 4 max, we were like any teenager. We could develop our own nightlife or social life. No.
I might add, we hung out at drive-ins because that was, there were, how many would you say drive-ins were there in town? Oh, 4 or 5 at least.
So, I was going to ask you about the nightlife. Besides drive-ins, what was the nightlife in Santa Fe like then for you?
Well, we used to go out. I kind of think that's where I first met Jim, my husband. We were married in '59. Excuse me. And there was a nightclub out of town. Well, it was a country western place. They had live western music, and they had, pool tables and...
Yeah, but it was a jukebox. It wasn't a live player like you have here now.
Right. And, I think we used to go out. It's now where the Olive Garden is out on Cerrillos Road, but it was out of town to us.
Very good.
How did you meet Glenn, Bernette?
At a drive-in,
Did you?
having lunch.
Oh, my gosh.
Do you remember what movie? No.
No, it wasn't a drive-in theater. It was a drive-in restaurant, like
Yeah.
Sonic.
where girls come out and took your order, and it was just a hangout.
There was Bert's, there was Chuck's Drive-In, there was a A&W Drive-In. That was in the 50s, girls. You don't remember that.
No, not. Although it sounds like fun, and I know Sonic does those history drives with some of the old cars. I mean, that must have been pretty fun. Yeah. So the Indian store that was on site here at La Fonda, were you tempted to shop when on your off hours? Was shopping a thing in Santa Fe?
What you said.
Well, I have a feeling from coming from Minnesota and locating here that we had not acquired a love for turquoise jewelry. And unfortunately, I think it would have been more affordable then when we did get to like it. But no, we really were not allowed to shop, in the market, in the Indian shop here. But, so that's, yeah.
So your love of Southwestern jewelry sort of came later, because I can see you have the turquoise, both of you now.
Yeah, but like Bernette said, we had to learn to like it. And then as we were just, after we were married, then we would we'd go out to Santo Domingo, to the Pueblos, and trade for Indian jewelry. If we would bring them,
This piece I have on right here is Santo Domingo piece that we would bring household goods, and they'd invite us into houses. And
they like sheets and bedding and invite you in, and and we learned to like a lot of a few of the ladies out there, the Native Americans, especially Santo Domingo.
Nice. Do you collect any other art? Have you had an appreciation for art since you've been here in Santa Fe?
Well, you have some nice art pieces.
well, I think, the landscape paintings are
Southwest?
my favorite.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. When you weren't working, what other kinds of things did you like to do? We talked a little bit about the nightlife, shopping. Anything else in your off time that you enjoyed doing?
Dear.
Well, we travel a little, like Los Alamos was a closed city, of course, then. And you just didn't drive up and take a tour of, of Los Alamos, but we would have, when we would have the chance to visit,
And of course, we've made trips back to Minnesota quite often. Yeah.
Did your family come here to visit as well?
Well, not till later. No, after we were married, I think. I don't remember Mother and Dad coming when we were working here.
Traveling in the mid-50s and late 50s wasn't as common as it is now.
Right.
So, and when you have a farm, you're dedicated to farm.
Right. What was your busiest time? Because now in Santa Fe, we have Christmas is a big thing. My understanding is that Christmas wasn't as big as some of the other times of year for you when you were working.
It was Fiesta. Yeah. And this was the headquarters of Fiesta, and it was pretty, we had to work extra shifts then, I think, didn't we?
You were kind of glad to get some rest because it really wasn't active, and I'm sure it still is.
Absolutely, absolutely. Was it a full sort of week-long celebration?
No, it was just a long weekend, and I think it was usually over Labor Day.
Okay, okay.
It was at that time.
I can imagine like the costumes and everything must have been very colorful.
Yeah, well, the Hispanic people do like to celebrate Fiesta, and I think they still do, and they did 60 years ago also.
And what about Christmas time in Santa Fe?
I just remember the Farolitos. That's about it.
I too. That was just so unreal to have lit. They weren't electric then. The lit bags, the candles in the sand in the bag, and the work that goes into the layers on the Fonda. Beautiful.
All up along the top of
they
the hotel.
decorated it.
Usually snowed more. And it was breathtaking.
Any other special sort of memories of guests at La Fonda?
Well, we have that picture taken with twin guests. They were young, very handsome men. I assume that they weren't with their spouses, so they were, single, but they were they were very good-looking men. And we did have a photo taken with them in the lobby.
There's been kind of a revival of interest when it comes to the New Mexico History Museum having the exhibit on the Fred Harvey years and special events. What has that been like for the two of you to be able to attend those events and interact with people who are interested in sort of your history?
It's overwhelming.
I just cannot believe the people that are interested. And it doesn't matter if they're young or old, the crowds that want to learn more about the Fred Harvey legacy. It was a job for us at the time, and we didn't feel it to be such part of history. We're glad that we could.
That's so silly. People are asking us for our autograph now.
There's still a few living, It isn't just us. I guess we were younger than a few others at that time.
Right. How long were you with Fred Harvey?
Well, she married the summer of 58, and then I married the summer of 59. And we worked till then.
Yeah, it wasn't, but, 4 years for her. Right?
And so you couldn't be married and be a Harvey girl? Or
I don't remember that rule. Do you?
Well, there were married women.
There were.
Oh, yes, of course there were. Yeah.
Yes, Faye. But there were more that weren't married than were. But yes, the rules were not that rigid.
Right.
Any other rules that you had as a Harvey girl that people would find interesting today?
I don't know. I don't think I can add anything to that right now.
Okay.
If you ask the question, I could respond probably.
Can you tell us how much your salary was? Are you comfortable in answering that?
I don't remember, do you?
I do not remember.
You don't remember. Okay.
I know that this was a new event for us. Of course, we had to declare we were supposed to declare our tips. So we had Mr. Churchill, remember he was a public accountant that did our taxes for us. And he said, now girls, we can't hide the fact you make tips. And we did have to declare, our tips. But I don't remember the salary at all. It was just like any waitress. I think it was pretty meager.
Anything else you can remember, sort of looking back now that you know that sort of you were part of this history that people are interested in? Are there questions that you're asked now that we haven't covered here that you think people would be interested in knowing? Little facts, tidbits from your time at La Fonda? Besides being asked for your autograph,
Yeah.
is there a most common question that people ask you when they see you?
No, we both have had children, and we never did. Just recently, they've begun to learn this history, and think their mom was pretty cool.
No, I had lunch a few weeks ago with one of the volunteers at the History Museum that they're very active in the community here. And she said, it was a couple-hour lunch. She's just a delightful lady. And she says, I said to her, as far as I know, this picture that is part of the History Museum now and advertising and with the New Mexico History Museum, I said, I don't remember my husband ever seeing this picture. And she went home and told her husband that, and he couldn't believe it. The fact that now this picture of us 60 years later that has become so part of the History Museum. But I feel we're so blessed to have this exhibit of Fred Harvey here in Santa Fe that and of course, La Fonda has been so receptive and so part of this too, that this is fabulous. Yeah.
It is. It's very exciting to have that here. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I think we're very lucky to be able to come here that long ago and still be able to still live in Santa Fe. And I think we both will relay this is just God's country. We just can't imagine living anywhere else.
Thank you very much.